Today is September 5th, 2021. My name is Charles Suter. Today I'm presenting part 4 of my series, A Philosophy of Change. This time with a focus on what causes people to change. My main message: people only change when they decide for themselves the time is right. As the external world changes, people attempt to adjust both their physical and mental worlds to adapt, accommodate, and minimize impacts on their existing comfort zones. People don't willingly give up their comfort zones because they're so familiar. They're stable, they're reassuring. Leaving an old known comfort zone to find a new uncertain comfort zone is almost life-threatening to some people, and they will do anything to avoid it, including accepting increased uncertainty, decreased convenience, and less comfort. People will only accept the necessity of change when their pain of staying in their comfort zone reaches bottom. They simply run out of time, chances, and circumstances force them to change. The best way to change is to start by changing your mind, by getting inspired, getting a new perspective, or convincing yourself that change now is better than later, and that change is the right answer to your problem. Proposition 1. People change when they can't take the pain any longer. People dislike change, but if they can find a way to tolerate the pain, they will stay the same. People seek change only when the pain rises to an intolerable level. Pain is the motivation and the prod that sparks change to relieve suffering. People are willing to accept considerable inconvenience to hang on to their comfort zone for the simple reason that they believe it is less painful to stay the same than to change. People are wired to choose the path of least resistance in the short term, even if the easy path is the least viable option in the long run. If people thought of the longer-term consequences of not changing, they would likely change faster and more often. People seem willing to accept a considerable amount of pain, including inconvenience and stress and abuse, just to keep from moving out of their comfort zone. But there comes a point when people just can't take the pain, and in desperation, they will seek the minimal change necessary to just ease their pain back to a tolerable level. Proposition 2. People change when they run out of time, excuses, and options. People tend to rationalize reasons and give themselves excuses for not changing. People think they have more time before they have to change. That's just one of the rationalizations. People think they can adjust their life so they don't have to change. As with anything else, people are compelled to change when their external circumstances eventually reaches a natural stopping point, a time limit, and a person no longer has an option of not changing. For instance, when your lease expires, your job is terminated, your significant other leaves you, or your lungs are so damaged you can't breathe well, you are then forced to change. People often wait until the last minute to make obviously necessary changes, hoping that some miracle at the last minute will give them a reprieve. When a person finally has no other choice except to change, it is usually at the worst possible moment, when a person must accept the first available option, and usually the last available options are the least attractive. Proposition 3. However, people do change when they are inspired by a new perspective. People will stick to their old beliefs because it is all they know. Ignorance keeps people bound to their old ways of living. However, change comes natural with new insights, inspiration, and attitudes. The easiest way to change yourself or others is to become enlightened by a fresh perspective and a compelling reason to change. Once a person becomes motivated to change with clear and convincing reasons, they will change on their own accord, ideally early while there's still time to find good options to pick from. To get yourself or someone else to change, you must do 3 things. You must, 1, present relevant information on how to change and how the change will solve their problem and end the suffering. 2, offer compelling and motivating options for change, because it will relieve the pain of staying the same and might even lead to an even better comfort zone. And 3, give assurances to boost confidence that the process of change is doable and not overly burdensome. And my final message: the best time to change is when you know in your heart it's time to change. People resist change and they will go to extreme lengths to avoid change, including denial of the need for change, and they will even willingly endure short-term inconveniences, waiting and hoping for a miracle just so they can continue living in a fading comfort zone. The cost of waiting and avoiding change is to make the changes, when they come, just that much harder, because the better options may no longer be available. The costs and the consequences may be higher, and the challenges of carrying out the change might be more difficult. People who change the earliest tend to fare better in the end. They suffer less and gain the best in longer-term gains. When it comes time for change, most people intuitively know it's time. But the true test of maturity is whether or not a person actually changes in a timely manner or gambles by enduring the deteriorating conditions of their external world, suffering all the way to the end when they are compelled to change. Just remind yourself, when the external world changes, neither physical nor emotional suffering are necessary. When internal changes you can make in yourself and your immediate environment, is always an option, with the advantage that each person gets to decide their own response to change, including the scope and details for themselves. That's all for now. Remember to stay positive. You'll be happier, healthier, and live longer.